Hello, friends. Let us begin from where we left in our last class. In our last class, we were talking about the Congress rule, which began in the year 1937 and ended in the year 1939. So, today we'll be talking about what happened after it. On 3rd of September 1939, Great Britain had declared a war with Germany. Okay, now you have to understand that this was the time when the whole of the world was plunged into a Second World War. The Second World War had actually started with, the year 1939, and it ended in the year 1945 with the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Okay. What in Japan? Now, what happened is after Britain had declared war on Germany, it simultaneously announced that India was also at war with Germany. It could do so because India was its colony, so it could make such announcements on behalf of India. However, it had met with resistance from Congress and also from the Muslim League. The Congress declared that it would not go to war with Germany or would not allow the Indian manpower to be used in a war unless and until it was guaranteed full independence. However, Great Britain was at war with Germany, and Germany was standing, on certain principles, believed in certain principles and ideologies. This was an ideological war to a certain extent. So, the ideologies that Germany was standing for, like Nazism. Nazism was a German ideology. Okay, it is basically the short of the German political party, which began in the year 1921. It was established in the year 1921 under Hitler. Okay, the short of the National Socialist German Workers' Party, which was established in 1921. The short form of that party was the Nazi Party, and the movement which began with it was Nazism. Okay. So this was a racist ideology which believed in one race is superior over the other, and therefore the other races can be, exterminated. Okay, now the Italian version of the same ideology was fascism. And this fascism began as a movement, in a nationalist movement in Italy, under the leadership of Benito Mussolini. That much is enough for now. I'll be explaining this in detail later on. Okay, so Congress could not support such ideologies, so it passed a resolution showing its disapproval against, for Nazism and also fascism. Muslim League, on the other hand, also could not support such nationalist, racist ideologies. So it also declared that it was not in support of Nazism or fascism, but it would not support Great Britain also in the Second World War, unless and until it guaranteed that there would be now an end to the anti-Muslim Congress policies, which the Congress had unleashed after coming to power in the year 1937. It also declared that no law should be passed affecting the Muslims in any body unless two-thirds of the Muslim members who were sitting in that body supported it. Okay. It also, insisted that Congress should be, forced to form coalitions in the provincial administrations. In certain provinces, you should be remembering that when we discussed, the elections of 1937, in certain provinces, Muslim League had come to power as a single largest party. But in that case, you cannot form a government on your own. You need the support of another party. So, they needed the support of Congress, but Congress was not showing that support. So, Muslim League here was insisting that Congress should help Muslim League form governments in those provinces. What happened is, after all these demands, would Great Britain and Congress accept them? Obviously not. So, they did not accept any of these demands which were put forward by the Muslim League. Now, to understand a little about the Second World War, which began in the year 1939 and lasted till the year 1945, whenever wars are fought, they are between two gangs or two groups of states. So the two groups of states were Grand Alliance and the Central or the Axis powers. So the Grand Alliance included Great Britain, and France was with it, and Russia, and also US later on joined in. And on the part of on the side of the Central or the Axis powers, here were Italy, Germany, and Japan also. Other 26 nations also supported Great Britain and France in fighting a war against Italy and Germany. Whenever you're asked about what happened in the Second World War, you should at least be able to give, these facts, that it was fought between two groups, Grand Alliance and Central or Axis powers. And in the Grand Alliance, group, There was Great Britain, France, and Russia, and later on US joined in. And and Axis powers actually means Italy, Germany, and Japan. And Germany was standing for Nazism, and um, Italy was standing for fascism. Okay, and these were nationalist, racist ideologies, which could not be, accepted by any of the European states. Germany started to militarily occupy a large number of states of Europe, and it started to intervene into, a great USSR, that is Russia, also. So this was not accepted by Great Britain or the other powers, and they started to, attack Germany in response, and that resulted in in complete chaos, a very chaotic situation which resulted in collateral loss and damage to the world in general, and Germany in particular, and these states in particular, because they had lost the war in the end. So this was it. Okay, so now let's talk about the Day of Deliverance. The Day of Deliverance, which was on the 22nd of December 1939, celebrated by the Muslim League on 22nd of December 1939. It was the day when the Congress members they resigned from the provincial governments because they were in power, and they were in the government. So after Great Britain had gone to war with Germany, they decided to protest, and in protest they resigned from the provincial governments, and they had put forward their demand that they needed complete independence. And since Great Britain had refused to grant them that, Great Britain, on the other hand, had agreed that it would give them not complete independence but partial independence, which means a dominion status. But Congress members were not ready to accept that. Okay, so they had guaranteed them a dominion status, which is partial independence. Okay, but this was rejected by the Congress. Okay. League, on the other hand, it celebrated this day, and it called it as the Day of Deliverance, and it's celebrated it as the end of tyranny, oppression, and injustice. Because obviously, like in our earlier class, we discussed what happened after Congress had come to power. The lethal measures that it had taken against the Muslim community, forced them to celebrate this day as a day of deliverance. Okay, so with this, we come to the end. If you get a question on the day of deliverance, these are the points that you can write. If it's a 4 mark question, make sure that you write at least 4 points, and those 4 points should be valid. And in today's lecture, we also discussed about the start of the Second World War, and how the whole world was plunged into the war, with Great Britain declaring war with Germany. And I also gave you a little details about the war. So with this, we end. In our next class, we'll be discussing Pakistan resolution. So stay tuned.